Folks, we're back. This is Steve Sampson and Michael McDonald, Veterans in Politics. Today, our guest is going to be Jill Douglas, who's the president of Battleborn Republican Women's Club and candidate for the Clark County Party Republican Chairwoman. So we're gonna talk to her and find out why she wants to run for this particular seat and get to know her a little bit. Mike, you have any rants?
It's really hot outside, and we're getting ready for 4th of July, and Jill's all decked out and ready for it.
Red, white, and blue. America first.
Yeah, happy Independence Day, and want to thank our sponsors, Ron Quince and Stephanie Phillips.
And all the people that died for our freedoms.
Exactly. So let's go right to it. Miss Douglas, tell us about yourself. Oh, thank you for coming on the program.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I appreciate the forum to be able to communicate my message. Little bit about me. I'm originally from Florida. I was raised, I was born on Eglin Air Force Base, if you know where that is, in the Panhandle. My father served in the military, retired Air Force.
What was his rank?
He retired as a senior master sergeant.
Oh, he was enlisted. Okay.
He actually, did a stint in Vietnam. Mm-hmm. So,
so you're a military brat. Then,
yes.
right?
Interesting story about that. I was in high school when the Vietnam War ended. Mm-hmm. And Eglin has a lot of ranges, just kind of like the ranges up here, a lot of government land. And Eglin became one of the areas where the Vietnam refugees were put up in these big tent cities. And my high school, we were actually able to go into these tent cities and meet the kids our age and, get to know them. And interesting story, you could actually, at that time, you could check these kids out of the camp and you could take them home and let them, and they would walk into an American's home and they would just be like, oh my gosh. We took them, the movie was Jaws. We took them to see Jaws. Yeah, but the interesting thing, these young kids
was
said,
that appropriate?
I don't know. They were like, in their entire life, they had never had a night's sleep where they hadn't been wakened by bombing. And then when they came into our high schools, they immediately were just so appreciative of the opportunity and the education. That they were immediately becoming, the valedictorians and the salutatorians. Like they were just so eager for everything that America offered. So it was a great experience. Who's who in American high school students, very active in student council, Kiets, all that stuff. I was a baton twirler, national champion baton twirler.
Did you get any corporal tunnel?
No. I did go to nationals at Notre Dame University, won a bunch of awards, went off to the University of Florida, and I would come back to help our local Chamber of Commerce raise money. Okay. Met this guy who was stationed at Eglin, fell in love, we got married. He promised my mother to always bring me back to Florida. He lied, he never did. So
you should have divorced him right now. Lied to mom.
He retired active duty. So, we went to Canada for 4 years. We went to Tacoma, Washington. And then he tells me, hey, they want to interview me for some job in Nevada, which I thought was really weird because this is the military, right? Mm-hmm. And he comes down here, he comes home, he goes, well, this is a great, great opportunity for me. I'm like, okay, well, tell me about it. He goes, I can't tell you anything about it. I'm like, okay. So I did not want to come to Las Vegas originally, but we moved here. We had 4 sons. They all graduated from Cimarron Memorial High School. 2 of them went into the Air Force themselves. So and I started my own business. So I got into, I had my own insurance and financial services agency, did insurance and wealth management, and was the top producing rep for my company. So I had an opportunity. They asked me if I would go into management and actually open up a branch in Summerlin, which I did. We built that to 23 reps. It was the top producing agency in the company. And then they had me take over the state of Nevada, and then they added Arizona, then they added Colorado. So I was an agency vice president overseeing the 3-state operation.
So you like a regional?
Huh?
A regional president or VP for the states, or?
Yes, I was actually, the history of the company, 100-year-old company. It's owned by the Illinois Farm Bureau. So I got to work heavily with the Farm Bureau in the state of Nevada.
Okay.
So I've been to all those little towns in Nevada. But yes, I got to.
There's a lot of little towns too.
There's a lot of little towns. Definitely a lot of little towns. So yeah, that background really has prepared me well for understanding the importance of setting goals. And it's not just setting goals, it's what steps are you going to take, because it's all about the execution. It's one of the things when you think about the Clark County Republican Party, have you ever known them to actually say to the membership, this is what we're going to accomplish this year, and this is how we're going to do it. When you're in corporate America, you are held to objectives. I mean, they want return on revenue, right? And you better produce blah, 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 blah every year, or else you're going to be replaced. So I'm all about working with teams of people, bringing them together, getting them focused around a vision, and finding a way to get it done. So my whole career has been, man, how am I going to tackle this? If I've got to go over it, under it, around it, I'm going to find a way to get it done. And I was, to your point, the first female agency vice president in my company. At the time, it was 95 years old.
Wow.
So I know what it's like to be that woman in a man's world. In my household, I was the only female. My husband, my 4 sons, our dogs were even guys.
It's not going to be much of a man's world. I'll say I'll give it another 20 years tops. It's really going at a rapid pace right now, but it's not going to be much of a man's world anymore.
It's interesting because North Las Vegas has a female mayor. Mm-hmm. Las Vegas has a female mayor. Henderson has a female mayor. Mm-hmm. I think it's only fitting that the Clark County Republican Party have a female chairwoman.
Well, we brought you on to get to know who you are, because there's a lot of people that don't know who you are. So this is a good segment to get to know who you are. And could you tell us, were you president? All right, let me just rephrase. What clubs were you president of?
Yes. I was president of the Active Republican Women's Club, mm-hmm. and then now the president of Battleborn Republican Women's Club.
How did that happen? The Active Republican Women's Club, was there a Battleborn before? Did you create Battleborn?
We created Battleborn, yes.
Why did you leave the ARW, which is Active Republican Women's Club? Why did you leave the ARW? Or did the ARW left you? That's why some people said, my party left me. I didn't leave my party.
No, so you'd have to really kind of know the history of the Federation. The National Federation of Republican Women, of which the Republican Women Clubs belong to the Nevada Federation of Republican Women mm-hmm. and the National Federation of Republican Women. And one of the goals of the state federation is to grow new clubs. And, we had a group of women at Active Republican Women. We didn't feel like the club was active enough. Mm-hmm. And too many of the clubs, the clubs are full of some really, really hard-working women. I mean, these are the workhorses behind the candidates. They're the ones knocking on doors, making the phone calls, doing the fundraising. I hadn't been a part of Active Republican Women that long. I actually stepped away from my role in corporate America so I could get more involved with politics. Because when you are a corporate executive, they actually tell you that you don't have freedom of speech. You're not allowed to take political positions. You're not allowed to post things on your Facebook, because there are individuals who troll companies looking for a conservative point of view, and then they want to, go contact the CEO. They want to cause a boycott of a company. So companies have to be very, very careful. You represent a brand, right? And so I literally...
Kind of like the military.
Right, yeah.
You can't really take a position.
I know.
You lose your constitutional rights being in the military.
I got tired of it because, as a military daughter, wife, mother, Blue Star mother, When I saw what was happening to Brett Kavanaugh, I was like, this is a government out of control. If the government can turn on Brett Kavanaugh and come after him like that, the government can come after anybody.
Even our president.
Yes. And look, I've always been a Republican since I was 18 years of age and I got to register to vote. I've never voted for anyone not a Republican. I believe in the values of the Republican Party. I believe in less government. You know, I believe in less taxes. I believe in, you know, allowing people the American dream, right? And so I was so disturbed though watching that. I was like, I've always been involved, but I got to get really involved. And so I stepped away from corporate America. I had found the active Republican women's group because it met in the evenings. And when I was working, that was conducive to that. But as we got more involved with the group, it became more and more apparent that their goal was really, they got together, they had dinner, but there was very little after that. And, you know, I would say that some of those women, they're just like sisters to me. And a couple of them said, hey, we want to be more active. We want to do more things. And so one of them said, I'm going to step away because I want to be more active and do some things. And then they all said, Jill, come with us. Let's start a new club. Well, we worked with the Federation. We got a charter because they wanted to grow new clubs. So there was nothing more to it than that.
Well, you were the president of ARW, right? Why didn't you just turn that around? Instead of this is the talk on the street.
Oh, I know. But let me tell you what the real talk should be about ARW. I was friends with the majority of women in that club, and they formed a nominating committee to form a new president, and I was happy it was going to be Leah Roberts, because Leah, if you know anything about Leah Roberts, she's a very strong Republican woman, and she would have been great. Unfortunately, the night of that election, when she was supposed to be elected president, they canceled the election. And then they asked Leah Giuliani if she would be president. Leah also walked away from that group. So, ARW. So, look, I respect all Republican women. I don't, the reality is that the National Federation likes us to grow new clubs, and we felt like we could be more active and do more things for the Republican Party by starting a new group than trying to fight some individuals who wanted to be resistant to change. So that's all. Yeah.
So the word, and correct me if I'm misquoted, but the word on the street says that you were president of the ARW and then you abandoned ARW and started the Battleborn. So now people are thinking with the Sherry Buck thing. Carrie Buck. Sherry Buck was a mayor of North Las Vegas. Carrie Buck, how she splintered off the Republican Party and tried to form a new Republican Party. So they're saying, is Jill Douglas going to do the same thing, because she already demonstrated that she left ARW as she was president and she formed Battleborn. So she splintered off and took half of the membership with her. Is she going to do that with the Republican Party? Is what they're saying.
So I think that's an interesting question, because it was Leah Giuliani who walked away from ARW. We started a new club. It was Jesse Law that splintered off from the Clark County Republican Party and started the new Clark County Republican Party.
He did?
Yes.
How does that explain, please?
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. Do you agree that Dave Sajak was chair of the Clark County Republican Party?
Yes.
Okay. Now I want to preface that because I don't know Dave Sajak. He doesn't really know me. I'm not a supporter of Dave Sajak, so this isn't about what he did as a leader, what he didn't do. I've heard from many, many people that he was a totally ineffective leader. Okay. But
wasn't there an election at that time? Jesse against Sajak or something like that?
No, I think where Dave Sajak really fell and really messed up, that was the Clark County Republican Party. That's undisputable. They had a nominating committee. And again, I don't really even know Carrie Buck. I'm not like a part of anything that took place.
Right.
I was trying to get very involved in the party at the time that all transpired. So what I do know is that they asked Carrie Buck if she would run to be president or chair. And she said yes. I know that I think where they really erred is that there was this hatred, and there has been for a long time. I mean, I can't put all of the dysfunction of the party on Jesse. It's been going on a long time. But it was clearly not helpful when Jesse, used the previous chair's Social Security number to spy on his child support issues in Utah, okay? So there was extra bad feelings against the county party. And so where I think they really made a mistake was, instead of letting Jesse run against Carrie Buck in a fair election, like we would all want, they voted him out of the party. And when they voted him out of the party, and
But why would they vote him even out of the party? I mean, what?
Well, they voted him out of the party for the same reason they've tried to vote people out of the party, which I'm just tired of that divisiveness.
Yes.
I'm just so tired of us trying to label Republicans, badmouth Republicans. We are the minority party in Nevada. We've got to come together, and so this name calling among people just needs to stop. I wasn't a part of that. I simply know that they voted him out. I know that he split off and he formed his own Clark County Republican Party, and then we had two parties. So of course those two parties were going to be like, which one is the valid party?
The one that's recognized by the state.
Exactly. No,
that's the one he had.
So exactly. It only stands to reason that caused litigation. When it went in front of a judge, the judge was like, there's not a legal issue here per se. This is about who's going to be, like, you're both nice people. I mean, that's what the judge said. You're both nice people. You need to figure it out, because this is infighting over who's going to lead a club, And yes, Michael supported Jesse and said,
so did
this
the
is, yeah, well.
So
I'm not here to debate that.
Yeah.
I'm simply saying that there was a split.
Well, let me stop you right there. If anybody started a new party, that was Carrie Buck. It wasn't Jesse Law. And the reason I say this is because I was involved in all that.
Yeah.
The reason why I say this is because the state Republican Party recognized the county chair as Jesse Law, and so did the RNC. So if you have a national and a state that's recognizing the county chairman as Jesse Law, then that only tells you that Carrie Buck is the one that splintered off with starting her own party.
Which is exactly why a lot of people, while that was going on, we were just kind of hanging back in the wings. And we were like, once this all settles and we find out which one exists, that's the one we're going to follow. And that's what we all did. So that's why we got involved with the Clark County Party, with Jesse as the chair.
So that brings me to my original question. If you were president, I've been president of Veterans in Politics since 2005. And I've had so much backlash, so much underhanding, so much disloyalty. But guess what? I'm still the president of Veterans in Politics, right? So if you're the president of ARW, you have the power, right? You are the top person. Why did you splinter off and left half of your members behind and then start Battleborn Republican? Not saying Battleborn is a great club, but I just want to know why you didn't just hold your ground, you're president, and be that leader and say, look here, I don't know, the divisiveness is happening here. You guys want this, want that. I'm the president of ARW. I'm not going to form a new club. We're going to make this work. Let's do it. Let's find out how we're going to make it work.
because the Federation likes to start new clubs, and we felt that it was better so that we could be more active to actually form a group that we could start from the beginning, that we could create bylaws that would allow us to do the things that we could do to be more effective for candidates and helping candidates win elections. So,
and you couldn't do that as president of ARW. You had to.
I'm not going to sit here and talk about individuals who were in ARW because I don't want to badmouth any Republican woman. We decided that we could do more for the party by starting a new club, which a lot of people agreed with. We did nothing to negatively affect ARW. We just all said, hey, we just want to start something new.
Okay, so what happens if the same, you're county chair, let's say you're county chair. And what happens if the same scenario happened while you were ARW president, now you're county chair? What happened if that same scenario happened? Or are you going to say, well, I just wanted to start a new Republican Party because they didn't like it and the Federation likes new clubs, so here I am.
The two are totally different.
But this
so
it's the same concept, though, Jill.
No, it's not.
The concept is you're president of ARW. You left half your members. You started a new club, created new bylaws. But if you were president of ARW, you could amend bylaws. You could have inputted new bylaws. You already have a foundation. But you left the foundation and you went to something that's not even existed yet. Nobody even knew about Battleborn, and you started it. And people are just it's a legitimate question because they're saying you left president of ARW, you abandoned half your members, and no, this is what they're saying. This is not what Steve Sampson is saying. Okay, and hold on. And I just want to make sure that it's clear because people are listening. And I just want to make sure it's clear that you were president of ARW, you left ARW, you resigned or whatever you did, and then you started a new club. I'm saying if you're president of ARW, why didn't you change the bylaws while you were president, amend bylaws? Why didn't you bring your people together and have them cohabitate? And people are thinking about this Carrie Buck thing, how she splintered off the Republican Party, who was recognized by the RNC and the state, and she splintered off. And they don't want a Jill Douglas to do the same thing that a Carrie Buck did. But you demonstrated that when you left ARW and you went to Battleborn. So people are like, are you going to do the same thing? Because what you're saying to me right now about making new bylaws, it doesn't make sense. And the reason why I say this is because I've been president of Veterans of Politics since 2005. Okay. And I'm nonpartisan, so I hear it from everybody, libertarians, IAPs, Democrats, independents, and Republicans alike. And I have never said, you know what, let's create a new club. I'm just going to leave this over here because you guys are not getting along, and I'm going to run over here, and I'm going to create this new thing. I've never said that. I stood my ground, I held it, and I'm still the president, 2005, and here I'm still. So why don't you stand your ground as president of ARW, instead of splitting your club up into two? Make sense?
I'm going to go back to the fact that you asked yourself, again, it was not just me. It was a group of individuals who felt that we could better serve the Republican Party in a more active role, working with the federations to start a new club. So I've answered your question, and I don't know.
Still trying to make sense of it,
I don't know what more I can say to you.
I'm saying to myself, you're now county chairman, and hell, Jill, I don't like all these people that are with the Republican Party. Let's start a new one. Because that's the same concept, isn't it? But just a higher level one. They're both clubs. One is county chair, and the other one is a women's club, right? But both still Republicans, right? But people are telling me, Jill. People are coming to me. They're calling me. They go, hey, why did she abandon her ARW? And she's president. It's not like she was secretary or treasurer. She's president. She abandoned half her members and went and started a new club.
Can I clarify for the viewers, like for the ARW, did you have a federal charter and bylaws that had to be abided by and they weren't being followed in the state, or was there some kind of disconnect? And then what would you do to bring unity to the Republican Party?
Yeah. Well, clearly unity does not exist within the Clark County Republican Party.
What would you do
Yes.
if you were elected chair?
So I think, and that's a very good question, because as I've sat there in the various meetings, I think there's still a lot of holdover and a lot of hostility between the two factions that existed, and
can you bring those factions together, or maybe you can
yeah,
clarify
absolutely,
the federal charter?
because one thing that I want to do is I want to stop the notion that we need to be judging all Republicans as to, how Republican are they. Jesse Law is not even a Republican. I mean, he may be registered as a Republican, but he clearly identifies as a libertarian. Wednesday night, at a meet and greet that he had, when he was being questioned about certain things, he said, I don't do that because I'm a libertarian. I don't tell people what to do. He has said that multiple times. How can our party function when we have a libertarian that disguises as a Republican to be the county chair? So yes, one of the things is we need to stop, like when we need to grow membership. And we need to bring people in, and we don't need to be sitting there and the majority of meetings, it's, well, we don't like these people, we want to vote them out, or we don't like these people, we don't want to vote them in.
It just causes division.
And so, you know what, if you come to us and you say, I want to belong, I'm a registered Republican, I want to get involved, membership growth equates to more volunteers. And so we need to be growing membership to grow volunteers. And so, yes, how a Republican Women's Club operates under the structure of a federation that encourages new clubs. Almost every Republican Women's Club started by branching off from another Republican Women's Club. That's how they grow. Barbara Hahn just did it. She's on the state GOP. She's a wonderful woman. She just branched off from another club and started another club. That's how they grow. So that's not unusual within the Women's Federation at all. So, and we have been able to accomplish more things for the party as Battleborn than we were.
Because of the charters and bylaws you were able to affect.
Because the thing is, like, some people are resistant to change. Mm-hmm. That there were individuals in that club that had been around a long time. They wanted to do things the way that they did them because they had always been done that way. But again, the Federation grows by starting new clubs. And so we worked with the Federation to get a charter to start a new club. That is the way the Women's Federation works.
So can I ask, like let's say if you had a family or a corporate environment and you had a division among, hey, these people are challenging the family or the head of the family. What do you do in that circumstance? You can't say, oh, we're going to split the family into two or the corporation into two. We're going to coach those people. We're going to talk to them. We're going to come alongside and talk and get their point of views and see what you can do to make a synergistic unity and within a family or corporation, right? Yeah. So how would you do that within our current party and the division and the infighting that's going on?
Well, I think all Republicans get a seat at the table. They don't all currently have a seat at the table. Many of them, they try to vote them out or not vote them in. So
would you vote at a corporation or a family? You vote them off, and
you don't vote out. You don't vote off your family,
especially family members.
Yeah, you try to. Yeah, it's just it's a totally different scenario. So, and we have a different version of what occurred, and you can be entitled to your version, and I'll be entitled to my version. There are different vantage points of what people feel took place. But here's the reality of all that. That all happened and it's in the past. And why do we keep harping on the past? Why don't we talk about the current state of the party and what needs to change if we are going to do the things that we need to do, which is get Republicans elected into office. And that's why I'm running.
Solution, not the problem. Right?
You know what? You're absolutely right with that. But the thing, you brought up some names, and these people that you brought up, they weren't president of a club. You were president of a club. I mean, I'm a Marine, okay? I'm a Marine.
Yes.
Once, always, right? And our motto is to abandon no one.
Yes.
So I'm not gonna, because I don't like my troops over here, and I'm the guy in charge. I'm not gonna leave them and go to some other troops and command them. I'm gonna take care of the infighting here, and I'm gonna make this stronger. Because if you split two things off, you're just 50% down. I like to bring all my people together. So let me ask you something, Jill Douglas. How is that uniting and bringing people together and working out differences if you being the president gonna run away and start another club? And that's the whole thing, because people want to know why you left the ARW, being a president of the ARW. I know it's the past, but the past is what makes your future, unfortunately, in some respect.
It seems a little silly that we're going to sit here and talk about something that happened so long ago, which has nothing to do with the Clark County Republican Party and the current state of the party, or the chair that's not even a Republican, he's a libertarian. There are so many things that we need to be talking about. Yes, I was president of Active Republican Women.
But you keep bringing up that he was libertarian. That was the past. That's the past for him too.
No, it's not. When Wednesday night he told people he was a libertarian.
He said I'm a libertarian.
To people on Wednesday night, I am a libertarian. Okay. On multiple occasions, there were people that were there that were heard it. That's how I know it happened. Look. So I want us to be forward-facing. Right. We can sit and we can debate the past all we want. I am telling you that every Republican women's club that exists splintered off from another group.
True, but not the president.
Well, yes, the president's included. Absolutely, they do.
What
Barbara
president?
Hahn just did
she
this.
Abandoned her club to start a new one?
You start a new club. That's how the federation grows, is by new clubs, each club doing their own thing, focused on the things that club wants to do.
But couldn't you have made the ARW stronger? Couldn't you have just told all these women that wants to move over to another club, couldn't you have just told them, like, hey, let's work it out. We're going to make it work. Let's get together. I know we have difference of opinions. Let's make, and the reason why I'm hitting that button so hard, because of what happened with Carrie
Let me tell you something. There is nobody more loyal to the Republican Party than me. I bleed red. I will take great offense at anyone who challenges me regarding my loyalty to the party and wanting to get Republicans elected to office. Mm-hmm. And the fact that a group of women all decided to come together to be a better servants to this party, that should be applauded. So I'm not going to sit here and talk anymore about something that happened so long ago.
How long ago has it been?
Well, more than 2 years ago. We elected to, look, the Battleborn Republican Women is currently the most active Republican women club in the Valley. That could have never happened, okay, except that we formed a new club. And we made over 21,000 phone calls. We put in over 65,000 volunteer hours. We put together 4 fundraisers, bringing various candidates together in various locations. And we are focused on what matters for the party. The infighting that just creates more divisiveness, and it needs to stop. We need to embrace Republicans. We need to put together a winning platform that starts with fundraising. And you can't win elections unless you can raise funds. So what I would say to people is this. Donald Trump ran to be president so he could drain the swamp. Washington, D.C. was a cesspool of people, doing behind, backdoor deals, under the table payments. He wanted to clean it up. They didn't want to be cleaned up, so they have resisted him every step of the way. I'm like Donald Trump. You know what?
Are you supporting him for president?
Absolutely.
In 2024?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think Donald Trump was one of the most effective presidents we've had. But here's the thing. The county chair is not about the presidential race. The county chair is about the county. The county chair is about the county commissions and the city councils and all the county recorders and the county treasurers. It's about the state legislatures. The county chair has got to be raising money to impact those offices. Michael McDonald's busy focusing on the presidential race. His responsibility is federal. The county is county and state. it takes money. So people need to ask themselves, is the party better off today than it was 2 years ago? The answer is no, it's not. Because when you look
at 2 years ago, there was that big infighting and court cases and Bucks
right.
and she's president
that ended,
and chair.
That basically, I can show you the article where it basically ended in December of 2021. Okay. Mm-hmm. So we can put 2021 aside and let's say, what did the county chair do in 2022? The answer is nothing. He didn't support any candidates. I was with those candidates. Jesse didn't make one phone call. Jesse didn't knock on one door. Jesse didn't put together one fundraiser. Why? Jesse didn't even bring in any funds for the party. I mean, you can look at the C&Es. I've got them right here. It is what it is. You can't back away from this. And in 2022, there was $17,000 raised. $14,000 came from the RNC, and there was $70,000 spent. Now, granted, there were legal fees, but you know what? The first thing that he should have done was I already know this. There were individuals who put together a fundraiser to settle the party debt, and nobody knows where that money went because the debt still exists today.
Don't they have a treasurer?
So yes, you can see that. And then first quarter right here, no money has come in the first quarter, and we spent $3,911. And what we need to be talking about is, why is the party broke? The reason the party's broke is the donors will not donate because they cannot trust Jesse Law. And that's not going to change. You want to change the party. You want to change the party. You have to change the leadership. Mm-hmm. Okay. You have to change the leadership, or else we're going to get what we've gotten before, which is infighting, divisiveness, and we're not going to win elections. Mm-hmm. The major responsibility of the party chair is to get Republicans elected. Did that happen? No. In fact, we lost an assembly seat. We lost a Senate seat. We have less representation in the state legislature than we did. Okay. He's got to take some ownership of that. Okay. The next thing is the fundraising. Yeah. You know, even the state had to take over the Lincoln Day dinner, you know, and the state is controlling the county funds because, you know, donors have backed away. When donors see the infighting, when donors see the things that get in the paper, when donors have to question why Jesse is in financial bed with Ross Miller on Venco Ventures. I mean, these are the things that should be disturbing. I am all about Republican integrity. I cannot be bought. I don't need anybody's money. I don't want any backdoor under the table deals. I want this party to operate with Republican integrity, focused on getting Republicans elected to office. That's what I'm all about.
I agree with
you. You know, and I don't, nobody controls me.
Qualified Republicans.
Yes.
Not stupid Republicans. Because there's some stupid ones out there that run for office.
Well, what is the Republican platform? The Republican platform is, you know, it is faith, family, freedom. It is a belief that we do best with less government involvement in our life. You know, we don't mind paying taxes, but they have to be our fair share. You know, I was pleased with the Supreme Court rulings yesterday. I mean, I think they were positive rulings. Well, both the right of an individual to determine, you know, what their faith and to exercise their faith, and then, you know, the Supreme Court decision on student loans. My goodness, you know, this is contract law. You know, you sit down with someone, you apply for a loan, you get approved for a loan, you take those funds, you pay for a college education. You're college educated. You know, pay your loan. That shouldn't fall back. And to act as if all of these college educated individuals were impacted by COVID, well, then weren't homeowners impacted by COVID? So
everybody was
impacted. Yeah, and what they've never said is how many of those college educated people's jobs were impacted. Again, it's a debt that they took out. It's a debt they agreed to pay. American taxpayers should not have to pay that debt.
Well,
and so I thought
$1 billion that they did to COVID relief funds, they're actually indicting a whole bunch of people.
And so I thought those were very good rulings because I do believe, you know, our forefathers were really some smart guys.
They were.
Because for them to be able to sit down and start a new nation and to sit down and write a constitution and also be able to see in the future enough to know that we don't want the tyranny of a king, so that states have to have rights. And what has happened, they knew though that throughout the years that the federal government would become greedy and would start taking away from the states, And I just think when you really get into the Constitution and our founding fathers and the framework that they created for our country, it's some powerful stuff. And I hate that we don't do enough to teach young people about that today so that they have pride in America. And it's distressing. Like, again, I'm a military mother, okay? I have even had to, with my active duty son, he's like, Mom, the military today is not the same military when I signed up.
It's not.
He did hopefully he won't. He did a tour of duty somewhere, which had been, a battle zone area where they were supposed to get they were told they were going to get certain pay, only to find that Biden removed it from that zone, And so there's been like, when you have a commander in chief that is working to destroy the military versus build up the military, when you have a commander in chief that's working with China and, working behind the scenes to it's not the morale of our military today is so down. The recruiting is down because, we have a very poor commander in chief, Trump loved the military. Trump gave the military good raises. He was all about, the equipment and, that debacle in Afghanistan would have never happened. Like, Trump was working to get us out, but there was a way you had to do it. It wasn't
leave all your weapons.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
And your dogs.
Yeah. You've probably seen that movie. What is it?
You don't leave the dogs behind.
The dogs.
I got one running around here right now.
I know.
I would leave my dog. I'll kill a human before they destroy my dog.
One of the things I appreciated about Sam Peters, Sam Peters was a military dog handler. Sam, who ran for Congress. And he was so upset when they left all those dogs behind. Those dogs are like, they're your family members. And they're a critical part of the military.
Somebody should have went back there and get all the dogs.
Yeah.
Oh, and the equipment. You just left it up there. Hey, here you go.
That was so sad to see those things happening. But, to get back to the county party, I would just say this, Jesse had an opportunity. And Jesse failed in his role as the chair.
Could you tell me, because I asked this of all candidates, especially when they run against incumbent, if it was a vacated seat, it'd be different. Why you run against the incumbent? 5 reasons why.
Well, I don't even know that I could give you 5 reasons. Sure. Look, I think Jesse is a nice guy with certain skill sets. I don't think the skill sets that he has are what they should be to run a county party. Mm-hmm. I think he's incompetent, and he's shown his incompetence.
Example.
Okay. Well, when you can't raise any money and you don't work to help candidates get elected, and you're in financial bed with the most corrupt county commissioner in the city.
Do you think he's taking money from donors?
Do I think who's taking money?
The incumbent, the current chairman of the county.
From donors?
Yeah. Do you think
I don't think donors are giving money. Okay. So, I think that he has allowed Ross Miller to have influence. I mean, this is a brilliant move on Ross Miller's part, okay? How can I infiltrate the Clark County Republican Party? Oh, I know. I will put Jesse Law on the board of Inco Ventures with me. How did that happen? How does that happen? Why, of all people in Clark County who could have served on the board of Inco Ventures, did Ross Miller choose Jesse Law? See, Democrat Ross Miller. I'm talking about Republican integrity, So what is that relationship? What is the deal? How much money has Jesse made to allow Ross Miller this influence? And how can Jesse support like April Becker, who's going to be running against Ross Miller? How can he support our candidates? Did he support Drew Johnson, who was trying to get on county commission? Because you know who Ross Miller's best friend is? Justin Jones. I mean, these are questions we need to be asking because it goes back to Republican integrity. He can sing the national anthem very well.
Yes, he does.
I cannot sing. But that doesn't mean that you have the skill sets necessary to be the chair of the Clark County Republican Party. I have a 30-year background of success in fundraising and in in managing a multi-million-dollar budgets for a 3-state operation where I hired, where I trained, where I was responsible for meeting revenue goals, you know, and I can use those skill sets. I represent stability. I represent someone who simply wants to serve. My intentions are totally honorable. You know, here's the deal. I'm running, Nephi's running, Johnny Bree's running, Chris Dyer is running. You know, that should tell someone that the majority of people in Clark County do not feel like Jesse's been an effective leader. It's not just me. It's a lot of people that don't feel like he's been an effective leader. If people felt like the party was in a good place, even if we hadn't necessarily won all of the elections, but if we felt like, man, you know, we've got financial reserves and, you know, and we're like this, we're highly motivated and we're doing, you know, if you've done a good job, you're not going to be challenged. And the fact that so many people are challenging him, yes, he is running scared right now because he knows he doesn't have a record to run on. His record is a record of failure. Jesse is a coulda, woulda, shoulda. You know, he's got this flyer right now, re-elect Jesse Law chair. Oh, great. Jesse, where are your accomplishments? It doesn't list one accomplishment. It lists things that he's going to, you know, oh, I'm going to create the greatest conservative grassroots force. Really? How are you going to do that? Why didn't you do it? You know, he's saying he's going to do these things, but he hasn't done any of them. Success breeds success. I have done these things. I have the background. I have the record to prove that I have done it and I can do it. He is a shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Do you think he's using his position to get contracts for consulting jobs?
Probably. I mean, do I have the proof of that? No, but here's the question people ask. Like, what does Jesse do for a living? And you know what? I haven't had anyone who can even answer the question. So what does he do for a living? And he does say that he does consulting work. Who does he do consulting work for? I can't find any candidate that he did consulting work for. So what is this?
But isn't that a conflict, though, if he does do consulting work for a particular candidate?
Well, I'm just saying he says he does it. I can't find anyone who says they've ever hired him to be a consultant.
But would you consider that to be a conflict, being chairman and do consulting work for Republicans?
Listen,
and there are other Republicans in the same race.
Here's the thing that I'll tell you. As the chair, Jesse needs to realize Jesse is not the party. Okay? That's the first thing you have to understand. You are the chair, which means you are responsible for the assembly. You are responsible for all of these individuals. And within this assembly are people of various different opinions, even as they relate to candidates. So you cannot, as the chair, we were asked this. We did a debate at the Filipino Club. Rudy was moderating the debate, and he asked us this question, like, do you think the chair should endorse a candidate? And I said, no, absolutely not. Because you have to be fair to everyone running. You have to your responsibility to the membership is to help educate them, to help inform them. And then in helping educate and inform them, you hope that they help educate and inform their centers of influence. And when they go to vote, they vote their conscience based upon the education and information. So certainly during the primary, you owe it to give every Republican a fair shot, a level playing field, the ability to communicate to this group of individuals. But as the chair, you should not. There have been people who were very, very upset with the last meeting that they felt that he turned it into a Trump rally and that he did not give any other candidates the same venue, you know, or that he endorsed Jim Marchant, you know. So people are questioning these things because there are other Republicans running, and we owe And everybody deserves the ability to get in front of the members and educate and inform them on their positions. We owe that to everyone. Now, personally, you can have your own personal opinion. And clearly, once the primaries are over, then you got to jump in and you really have to support, you really have to support the Republican that gets to the general. Even if that wasn't even the Republican you voted for, you've got to support that person.
Do you believe in, sorry, Mike, do you believe in pre-primary endorsements?
I do not believe that the chair should give endorsements.
Is it in the bylaws saying the chair should not endorse?
I believe it's probably in the Robert's Rules of Order that chairs over, I can tell you in the Battleborn Republican Women, it's in our bylaws. It's in our bylaws, have to be the same bylaws that the state uses, that the National Federation uses, and we are forbidden from endorsing.
Would you adopt such bylaw for the county party? If
what I would probably do is I would say that I think it would be a good policy for the voting Central Committee members to actually have a day where we put on a forum that candidates could get in front of these individuals. Now, if that body would want to do something where they say, hey, we met with everybody, we got to know everybody, we think this would be the best person to represent the Republican Party, or we think these two people would be the best to represent the party. I think the voting, Central Committee members, delegates could do that, but the chair shouldn't.
Is there any vetting of candidates or mentorship of Republican candidates? And then what would you do to help with the fundraising for Republican candidates?
Yeah. Well, I've already got lined up who would be a fundraising chair.
Like the mentorship, like what they just, whoever wants to run,
well,
and there's no vetting.
Okay, so now, that's a good question. What you're talking about is actually a really good, candidate development and training program. And there is none. And it's a shame because the Democrats have a really solid program. And they have a roadmap probably. They've got people earmarked probably for the next 20 years of races. So they ensure that there are no primaries, that their candidates don't have to spend money in the primaries. And, Harry Reid, the Harry Reid machine, was not afraid to say to someone, you are not running in this race. And they listened,
That's the problem that Republicans don't have.
Yeah.
That problem. They need to start doing that. They need to start being more of a strategist.
I believe that we as a party need to be identifying talent. We need to get that talent engaged in campaign management schools. This would go everything from how to fundraise, how to do a speech, 1-minute elevator speech, how to talk in public, it's a huge amount of skill sets, if somebody's going to run for office, right? So there needs to be a program that, we take people through this process of of recruitment and candidate development. And sometimes it means, hey, you know what? Based upon getting to know you, I know you're thinking that you want to run for this office, but honestly, you need to start here. I met an outstanding young man last election season, and I was like, oh my gosh, he's an up-and-comer. Really nice guy, good communicator, good resume. He was running for the wrong office, and I was like,
what makes you qualify?
Well, what makes me qualify for Clark County?
To make that
assumption. Simply because I knew his background and I knew that we had some needs in some other lower races that I think would have given him some really good experience. Okay. I don't even think we have a male on our school board. We have a bunch of progressive females and one conservative, Katie Williams. I don't even think we have a conservative male on the school board. So why aren't we as a party right now trying to identify a really strong male conservative and running him against this progressive liberal?
Have you ever came alongside? And I remember Evelyn Costa-Nostra. She actually brought me in.
God bless her.
Yeah, God bless her. She's an awesome woman, and she would discover talent, bring them to the meetings, and it was such an awesome privilege to know her and to feel her come alongside, and she recognized things in people, and that's what I think we need to have is that mentorship. Hey, this person could be something else. See, when you bring people into that,
then you might also be saying, hey, this next election, we want you to work with this campaign. So now you're also creating volunteers to help campaigns, because maybe you need to work on a campaign before you run a campaign, you know? But I'm just saying there definitely needs to be a candidate recruitment, candidate development program. I know that there are groups.
You know, Boys State and Girls State, that was, I attended that when I was in high school. And it was a very enlightening experience. And I wish more people would experience that in high school, or they'd recognize that talent. And then not just go through that program, but go ahead and the candidates would get involved, or people, or mentorship in the Republican Party, whatever party it is, and actually grow those candidates.
So one of the things I like that Scott Pressler does, you know, Scott Pressler really tries to focus on young people. And, you know, one of the sharp young Republicans right now that we have working within the party is Matteo Pertelli. And, you know, even Matteo would tell you that his age group, which is that 18 to 24 age group,
well,
that only
I was there at 24.
Yeah, if you knew now what you knew then, or whatever, right? Yeah, only 19% of young people are registering to be Republican, and it's not a whole lot better for the Democrats. The majority of them, like 55%, are registering independent because they really don't like what they see with either party. So we've got a branding problem. We need to change. We need to be able to communicate our messaging better, because if you're like me, you've sat down with people and you start just talking about what's important to them. You know, the education of their children is important. Maybe they want to open a business. You know, maybe they want to bring home a little bit more of their paycheck. They don't want the government mandating and telling them what to do.
But isn't that the Republican Party platform?
Yeah,
entrepreneurialism?
Yeah. And this is the thing. So when you sit down and you start connecting with people and you start just talking in those terms, most of the time you can say to that person, you may not realize it, but you're really a Republican. Most people are Republicans. Most Americans share these values, but they've been warped by the Democratic messaging, which comes across as more positive.
And in our school systems, indoctrinated into that as well.
Exactly.
In our education system.
So Scott Pressler does a great job with pre-registering 16-year-olds. And you think about that, that's awesome, because if you started pre-registering 16-year-olds to be Republicans, you can use them to build your volunteer teams. These are the kids who can learn, you know, and can help.
Hungry.
Yeah, they're hungry. And you can get them knocking on doors and handing out flyers and doing voter registration at the Dutch Brothers and all these places, you know, like, and you're training them. And by the time they're 18, man, they are ready to go. So I think we need to be engaging in more things like that.
All right. Well, I want to see how your mind thinks, Miss Douglas. Would you rally behind recycled Republicans that have lost races, especially they have lost lower races, and now they want to go for the big? They want a promotion, so to speak. So they lost the cashier job, okay? And they were the cashier leader, and they lost the cashier job to somebody. I'm putting this in the real estate form. They lost the team leader's job, okay? They lost.
I thought you were talking about Jesse.
They lost the supervisor's job, and now they want to be general manager, okay? So would you rally behind candidates that in the Republican Party that have lost lower seats consecutively, and now they want to run for a higher seat, but they have a losing record? Would you rally behind somebody like that? Or would you rally behind somebody that's a fresh face, that hasn't lost anything, that hasn't been in politics, might have a little bit with a name ID problem, but we could work around it? Which one of those two individuals would a Jill Douglas rally behind?
So sometimes fresh ideas are good. And and it's one of the things that people wanted to say about Trump. Well, Trump ended up being one of the best presidents, but he had never held office, right?
And he won against the Bushes and the Ted Cruzes.
Right. He took them all out because he had a strong message that, just really rallied middle America. I during that election, I kept telling people, because, all the messaging was Trump can't win, Trump can't win, Trump can't win. And I just said,
it's like an Oscar Goodman too.
And I said, there's a middle America who is silent. They're silent because, like me, you have a job and you can't speak. You're not allowed to speak.
You don't want to get fired.
But they've worked hard. They've worked hard to have a house. They've worked hard to educate their kids.
It's like Black Republicans. Yes. They don't really want to come out and say they're Republican because they're family.
And they've worked hard to maybe save a little bit of money. And now they see the Democrats over here, they're wanting to let illegals come in. They're wanting to give them health care. They're wanting to educate them. They're wanting to pay off student loans. They're wanting to do all these socialistic things. And they were angry, but they kept to themselves. But then they turned out at the ballot box and they voted, So to the answer to your question would be, as a chair, you couldn't take those positions because, again, you're representing the assembly. You're trying to give everybody a fair shake. You're trying to let everybody have the platform to share their message.
A Jill Douglas, not a chair.
Now, as a Jill Douglas, I voted for Trump. So I'm going to look at, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? What's within your capacity to do? Because this is another thing that I noticed with the elections. Sometimes people run for an office and they run on a platform that it's impossible for them to do because the job description for this particular office is something different. So,
but when you vote for a Republican candidate, you're expecting that person to vote and to have the same values as a conservative.
For conservatism,
but Trump was a Democrat before, right? And a lot of Republicans actually vote for Democrats or independents because they don't know who's supporting those values. And most people only vote on party recognition or name recognition. So it's like, I guess people can wake up and people can change, but to mentor people, say, this is the best candidate, this person will vote according to our values and on how, we expect them to be elected to represent the populace. And that's not occurring.
What I have found that I don't like, and man, if it's this way just on a county level, what it must be on the federal level. Our government, it's just become so much about money.
Yeah, that's sad.
That's true.
And just what I've learned, okay, so the RNC comes out with Campaign Sidekick. And then they're like, you have to use Campaign Sidekick. Well, somebody else says, but here's a better thing, like, I-360. It seems to be better. No, you got to use Campaign Sidekick. Because with Campaign Sidekick, they're able to monitor how many phone calls have you made or how many doors that you've knocked on. And then they're funneling money to candidates that show the most usage of Campaign Sidekick. Now, that doesn't mean that Campaign Sidekick is allowing for a lot of voter contact. It's not a quality issue. It's a quantity issue. They want to see numbers. I made phone calls for Joe Lombardo, and I can tell you that Joe Lombardo's campaign was centered around voter contact. It wasn't how many calls you're making, it's how many voters you're connecting with. Mm-hmm. I also made calls for Laxalt, the ladies for Laxalt, right? And they had the phone calls on speed dialer. And I showed a heck of a lot more phone calls in the same amount of time making calls for Laxalt, but I connected with far fewer people, okay? But he was probably getting more money from the party because they're showing the number. So, yeah, there's so much of that, and then candidates are promised a lot of things by our Republican, like Kevin McCarthy. He would fly in and he'd like, oh, yeah, I'm going to do something and promise these candidates money. And then they would renege on it,
That should be criminal.
Yeah. And so, yeah, it's like, I get it. It takes money to get your messaging out. But at the same time, it's why I like the precinct work that's being done right now. And as I say that, it's another thought that comes to my mind. When you talk about things that people are saying, one of the things people are saying is, oh, if Jill wins, then these committees that have been put in place, she's going to break up these committees, do away with these committees, get rid of these volunteers. That is absolutely 100% false. So let's talk about those committees. Let's talk about the structure of the Republican Women Clubs.
Before you get to the committees, because I'm going to forget about my I don't know if you answered it, but just tell me.
I think I did, because I told you as the chair, you couldn't really do that.
But as a Jill
Douglas, I shared with you that I shared with you Trump. So,
okay, so fill in the dots.
So yeah, I think that you look at the individual, you look at their background, you look at the job they're running for, and you look at, what do they bring to the table? And what are the problems they're going to solve? How are they going to make a difference? So,
but you think somebody that has lost consecutively 3 times in a row is going to become now
I think it's
a higher?
I think it's very hard to win a race when every race you have run, you haven't been successful.
Okay, good answer. Let's talk. I'm sorry, you were talking about the structure and stuff, but all right, please.
So
please
I wanted to talk about the committees.
Okay.
I appreciate the fact that finally in March, and I talked to Carolyn Osseguro. I know that a lot of the people on these committees had gone to Jesse and said, "Hey, the county needs committees." Now it's a shame that he didn't recognize that sooner, right? That there wasn't this infrastructure created in early 2022. So yeah, since March, they've been putting together these committees. These committees are all based upon, like all the Republican women's clubs have that framework already. We have campaign committees, we have legislation committees, we have all of that work going on. So I totally love the fact that the framework for those committees has been put in place. No, I would embrace those committees. I have the skills, however, to help those committees grow. I have the relationships. I've already built relationships and partnerships with the presidents of every Republican club and conservative club in town. I have relationships with the Jewish Coalition. I have relationships with the Asian Americans, the Latinos, the American Christian Caucus, the Log Cabin Republicans, several different PAC groups. I would be working to make that footprint larger. I wouldn't be at all looking to dismantle it. So anyone who says that I wouldn't embrace those committees or I would try to no, absolutely not. We need volunteers. That would not serve the chair well to ever do that. Why would you want to get rid of volunteers? We need volunteers. This is a large valley. We've got 3 million people live in Clark County. I mean, we've got 345,000 registered Republicans. That's a lot of people. Now, we have lost over 100,000 registered Republicans since about 2016. We need to work on getting some of those people back. We need to work on finding out why all those people that didn't vote, why they didn't vote. Like, I'm a little concerned that there's not been any outreach to these people. Like,
that's another one of my questions. I always wondered, where are the Black Americans in the Republican Party? To be quite honest with you, because I don't see them.
Yes,
especially in the rurals. I'm just ain't nobody here. Right. It's all white Republicans, and usually it's the older white Republicans. And time is moving fast here. Okay, the Democrat Party got it. They're going for the younger ones. They're going for the black, the brown, the yellow. They're pulling in veterans. They have a veteran coalition. Where is the veteran coalition Republican Party? Where is the minority coalition with the Republican Party? If it's the party of all inclusiveness, why am I seeing old white people at all these events in the Republican Party? I've been in the Republican Party since 1998. Why am I seeing old white people? Where are the blacks, the browns, the yellows? Where are the veterans? Where are those folks? Where are the young folks at? Where are they? There you go.
That's an excellent question.
I want to know where they are, Ms. Douglas, because I do not see them. And the ones I see are far and few between.
That's an excellent point. So I'll piggyback on
Where's
that.
the drive for those?
Exactly. That is one of the things I would do differently because I already have the support of those minority groups. Because I have worked with individuals like Michelle Barnes and, a host of other individuals. And what I've recognized is our party needs to look like our community. And our community is very diverse. 13% of the population is Asians, And yet when you come to our meetings, does the Clark County Republican Party look like our community? Does it reflect? It doesn't. So you know what? You have to be intentional, right? You have to be intentional. If I'm going to change that, I have to be intentional. I would tell you as the chair, I would join the Latino chamber, the Hispanic chamber. I would join the Asian chamber. I would join, like there's the shepherd's breakfast that they have, the African American community. I would build relationships within those communities and start having a presence. And the other thing, and veterans as well. Here's our problem. On election day, we go into these neighborhoods and we say, vote for me, vote for Republican. But we haven't done anything before the election to connect with people in the community. Like, I love what you're doing here for veterans because, see, that's connection. Like Battleborn Women, we support many veterans initiatives. We took it upon ourselves, like, my in-laws are buried at the Memorial Cemetery in Boulder City. Okay. And so I went out there one year for Wreaths Across America. And when I looked at all those heroes, and only 7,000 got wreaths. And I was so impacted by that, I said, we have to change this. And so I started rallying groups together, and we took on the initiative. Battleborn itself, we purchased 300 wreaths. We got donations to do 300 wreaths, but I also got 5 other organizations to get involved.
Good for you.
And this year, there was something like 13,000 wreaths. Still, that's not getting the job done, right? And I will not rest on that until when we do the Wreaths Across America, there is a wreath to honor every hero that is out there. Likewise, we also support Operation Warm Heart, which provides Christmas presents to needy military families. Look, the low-ranking military, they don't make much money. And there's a lot of separation and a lot of family stress, and a lot of those kids don't get a lot. So we try to support that, and I try to support the Purple Heart veterans. And all, the veterans, look, they deserve our undying devotion and our respect and our love and our appreciation, I get emotional about that because it irritates me when I see that we're gonna put an illegal in a nice hotel and provide meals and provide medical care, and our veterans don't get the proper medical care, and that's just wrong.
We have a Valentine's Day ball. We do it we do biannually, so every other year. So we're coming up on our 7th one, February 3rd at the New Orleans, and every ball, we recognize somebody. Sometimes I think that we need to recognize more,
right?
But we recognize somebody. I have not seen the Republican Party actually recognize anybody. Maybe I might miss something. Did I miss something? Did they recognize somebody and I wasn't around?
Right.
I haven't seen.
That's a good point.
They don't recognize anybody. Don't give them an award.
We started an award in our club, and so every Veterans Day now, we're going to do the Veteran of Distinction. We gave out 2 awards last November, and we'll be doing that again. So we've started this tradition to actually select a veteran, or 2 veterans from our community, and make them honorary members of our club. And we actually have an Eagle Award that we present them. And you know what they said to me? They said, I've never had anyone acknowledge my service or show appreciation or give me an award. It was very, very humbling for them. But
I remember the Republican Men's Club, they would give out elephant trophies to the person that brought the most people to.
And I'll say the Boulder City the Boulder City Republican women are really good. They do the quilts of valor thing that I think is really a positive thing. But to your starting question, which is, yes, we need to be intentional about building a party that reflects our community. And as a chair, I would ensure that all the time we're present in these communities. Like we need to, like, what's a needy school that we could all come together and donate a computer? And now these acts of goodwill create and build relationship. And it's by building those relationships, it's by connecting to people that you now have an opportunity to talk, right? And bring more of those people into the Republican Party. But it starts with connection. It does not start with vote for me. But yeah, I'm very surprised. I was very surprised when I realized that that there had not been any effort to become a part of these organizations and find out how we can support them, what's going on in their communities, and really start building those relationships.
And would you do what the Democrats do? And I know this because I'm friends with a lot of Democrats. We are a nonpartisan group.
Yeah.
Would you do what the Democrats do and go out and tell folks, hey, look, you ran these 3 races. Let's have somebody else go in there. Let's once you run for something that you already lost instead of trying to move up. Would you go and try to compromise with them? Because you brought up a valid point, because you're talking about that young man that you thought that he was in the wrong race.
Yeah.
Would you go and have like a sit down with them and try to work things out instead of trying to push them out?
Yeah.
And do things under the table or backroom
Now,
deals?
I will also say there's another component to that really irks me, okay? And that is individuals who come out of nowhere. They come in and say, I'm running for this office.
And they never attended one
and then
meeting.
You've never seen them. They've never been a part of any club. They've never been a part of the party. And all of a sudden it's like, vote for me, vote for me. And you're like, who are you? And then they don't win the primary, and then you never see them again.
And I got one better than that.
They don't even help support the person that did win the primary. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I got one better than that. And I know in the congressional races, you can run for any district.
Yes.
I know that.
Yeah.
But how are you going to, if you live in CD3 and you want to run for CD4, how are you going to tell people to vote for you in CD4, because that's where you filed, but you cannot vote for yourself because you don't live there? How could you do that?
That's a strange one for me.
How could you do that?
Why is that you allow people to run for a congressional district and they don't even live in that congressional district?
It doesn't really make sense. But they want you to vote
they don't even know their constituents. They don't know the needs of their community because they're not a part of that congressional district. Mm-hmm. It doesn't make sense to me. And I don't think that a lot of those individuals, that they don't live in that district and they're running against someone that does, it probably provides a great speaking point for the
If you become chair, could you make a bylaw saying, and I know it's in the Uniform Code of Military Justice, and I know it's an ethics violation if they do, but could you make a bylaw saying if you cannot wear your military uniform to a political event, a political organization, because you can't?
Wow.
And there's a lot of candidates out there that wear the military uniform. Military. You got Lombardo, who's faced an ethics violation and a $1.4 million penalty for wearing the police uniform for political reasons. And it's the same thing with the military. They can't wear the uniform in a political event. I don't care if they talk about veterans issues, and I don't care if nobody talks about any political stuff, and I don't care if they're honoring veterans. You cannot wear the military uniform to a political event, period. If it's called the Republican whatever, you can't wear the uniform. And people just wear it, and they're not supposed to. They're in violation. And if you're in violation of that, what other violations are you going to be in if you become elected? And that's my mindset. Yeah. If you can't even do that right, what are you and you're not elected, what are you going to do when you become elected?
Right. That's an excellent question. I definitely think it's something that, you could bring up to the board to see if there's any appetite for that. What I love the idea that the party actually do a veterans something in November, where you are honoring vets, where you're bringing people together. And then maybe that's a good forum where you can say, hey, if you've served,
you can't wear it though.
But I don't know.
You'd have to
that's
change
a good question.
You'd have to change the name of the.
You couldn't have it like sponsored by the CCRP if you're
or a Republican or you can't.
That's a great question.
You can't have a political name in the party. or the organization that you're attending. But
that's a good question. Something to think about.
You have anything else for Ms. Douglas? I think we
really covered a lot of it. I mean, maybe for the last segment, maybe giving 5 things that you would do different, like to bring that unity. You know, that's highly needed. And like we went over the mentorship and we went over the fundraising, but actually bringing more candidates, bringing more voters. You know, that's a big focus that the Republican Party should be doing. So, what would you do to help establish that?
Yeah. Well, I think I think you have to have.
Like
so let me give you an example. Like with fundraising, like it's real easy to just say, "Hey, we're going to raise X amount of money." You have to, if you're working with donors, you have to get donor to understand where this money's going. And so I'll just give you an example. I think we really need to build some strategy around defeating ranked choice voting. Now, I went around last election season and I spoke at many functions regarding ranked choice voting. And every single time I spoke, Republicans said, "Wow, Jill, I had no idea. Why isn't the party talking about this?" The party absolutely did zero education about something as critically as important as defeating ranked choice voting. So it passed. If it passes again this next time, it's going to become law. We have to defeat it. Ranked choice voting destroys our political parties. Our political parties will not exist if ranked choice voting gets passed.
And open primaries.
So yes, so I would say, hey, we got to come up with a plan, right, of the things we want to do to defeat it. It's going to cost, let's say we determine that's going to cost, what we want to do is going to cost $50,000 or $100,000. Now I'm going to go to donors and I'm going to say, we're working to defeat ranked choice voting. To do that, it's going to cost X amount of money. Will you help support this cause? Now they will, because now it's like, oh, they're tied into a purpose. Now they know what this money is going to be used for.
So you're going to do those trainings or those seminars? How would you to bring awareness to that? Or how?
So there would definitely there is going to be an educational component. I think at every one of our meetings, there should be like a speaker helping educate the group about something. There needs to be so much more done about educating with ranked choice voting. So that's just one example, but like I would tie specific fundraising around specific things. You know who does that really well? The Women's Resource Center, just a lot of these groups where Women's Resource Center, they'll have their annual gala and they'll make $800,000 that night.
That's a lot of money.
But what they're able to do is they're able to tie in the need with specific things that they need to accomplish, like X amount of money pays for X amount of sonograms, X amount of money pays for the prenatal care for X amount of unwed mothers, right?
They're displaying the vision, and that's what we need to do.
So suddenly I know if I give this money, I've just helped 5 women to have the resources they need so that they don't feel they need to give up their children. Like you're tying in to people's emotions and their passions to a specific cause with a specific amount of money. And now I can feel good because I just helped 5 mothers to have the prenatal care that they need, So I think we need to do more of that instead of just saying, hey, I'm going to raise X amount of money because, where's it going to go? What's it going to go for? And donors aren't going to give unless they know what's it going to be used for.
Stewarded correctly.
Yes, stewarded correctly. And they feel like they're a part of something happening, right? To your point, yes, we need to be bringing in speakers. We need to be doing educational things. Battleborn Republican Women is bringing in Gordon Chang in October. Do we need to be educated about China right now? Heck yeah, we do. And so we're bringing him in because he knows, and we need to know. So I think there is opportunity for the party to bring in people and really get us all talking and educated, so we're all talking from the same page, right? we've lacked the ability. We haven't done a good job with communicating our message.
No.
So communication is important. Like
marketing.
Gosh, here's the thing. I was at a function the other night, and this guy says to me, like it or not, the abortion issue is a losing issue, and see, part of it is because young people like choice.
And abortion is in our Constitution.
So when you, like the Democrats, come out and say, I'm pro-choice, you've just resonated with all of the young people because they believe in choices. Now, it's wordsmithing, using words that appeal to people versus words that make you appear, like you're holding them in judgment or whatever.
And I know we overextended the time with you, Ms. Douglas, because people really need to know where you stand. And you bring up abortion, and I have somewhat of a problem with it. I understand up until a certain time that you should not abort a child, but I also believe in pro-choice. And the reason why I believe in pro-choice is because when people, in my perspective, when people are so totally against abortion, they start bringing their religion to justify. And you're not supposed to introduce religion into politics. It's supposed to be two separate issues. They say separation between church and state, correct?
Yeah.
So they bring their religion, they bring their own personal bias, and then they say no abortion, and then they say, Republicans say no government infringing, but yet they're going into your bedroom and telling what you can or can't do with your body. And then they get mad because you start using taxpayers' money for welfare, because now you're taking care of these 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 kids. But yet they don't believe in pro-choice. It just doesn't make good sense to me. If you don't believe in pro-choice and you believe that religion should be taken out of it, but yet you're bringing your religion in it, and you believe that we shouldn't be putting these dollars out for taxpayers so you could pay for this kid and pay for that kid, but yet you don't believe in pro-choice.
Rape and incest.
I cannot fathom. I cannot logically put it all together, because if you believe one way, then why are you stopping people from having pro-choice? Yeah, it just doesn't make sense.
It's a so
I try to make sense of it.
It's a tough issue, and I think we have to go back to.
And it's in our Constitution.
Yeah, my personal belief is, and the Republican platform is, pro-life. I am a mother of 4, right? I think that children are the greatest blessing that you could ever be given, and having said that, however, I think we need to stop arguing about it, because, quite frankly, the voters in Nevada voted, and they made a decision, and it's codified into law. Mm-hmm. And despite the fact that I may be against it, the voters voted. Mm-hmm. That's what states' rights are all about. Mm-hmm. That's actually what Roe v. Wade was all about. Mm-hmm. Roe v. Wade was, this is not a federal issue. It's a state's issue. And so the voters in their various states get to decide. And the voters in Nevada decided, whether I like it or not, they decided. It's codified into law. Mm-hmm. And so it is allowed in our state. The only way that is going to change is if you started the whole thing again. You got all those signatures again. You got it back on the ballot again. And that's never going to happen. Mm-hmm. So I don't even know why we get into the debate about it. Mm-hmm. Again,
we should debate mental illness and how we're going to cure that, because mental illness causes crime.
Yes.
And mental illness causes suicide. Mental illness causes a lot of things. That's what we should focus on, the mental illness, not abortion.
I think a lot more resources need to be going into mental illness.
Or mental health.
Yeah, mental health, yeah. And there's just not enough. You know, it's interesting because you had the judge on right before me. I wonder sometimes, like, you know, somebody gets arrested, they have an addiction. Mm-hmm. And I sometimes wonder, they need help. Like they need to be rehabilitated. They need mental, they need help. What do we accomplish when we take that person and we throw them in jail?
You make them a criminal.
Right.
That's what
and
you
so
do.
now
you make them a criminal because you're around criminals.
It's a greater hardship for them to move forward with their life, to get a job, to support their family, when the best thing we could have done is given them the resources they need to deal with the problem, not add to the problem with criminal records. So
we should be focusing on the family. Our root cause is our division. We have fatherless homes, motherless homes. We have such a division.
The greatest gift that can be given to a child is that of being in a home with a loving mother and father. And it's a tragedy that in a country as great as ours, so many children aren't born into that type of environment. So it's very complex issues. I am a supporter of the Women's Resource Center because I do think that, it's hard for guys to understand how scary it is for a young girl to find herself in that situation. And
hence the women's movement, the Me Too
movement. So what they've done is they've offered the alternative is, just come in here and get an abortion and forget about it. A woman doesn't have an abortion and forget about it. The Democrats talk about reproductive rights. Well, let me tell you, women live with that forever. They harbor a huge amount of guilt. Many, many times the tragedy is the process itself has caused them to not ever be able to have another child.
It's just like a veteran in combat.
Yes. And so many of these women are scarred physically and emotionally. And that's something the Democrats don't talk about. Those are things we could talk about, is the physical trauma and the mental trauma that women go through.
Some more education.
Yes, more education. And then the other thing is, I may have a belief that it's wrong. You may have the legal right to do it. I don't believe the government should pay for it.
True. True.
So there is still conversation that should be had.
And sex changes. The
great thing about it, the Women's Resource Centers, are that the majority of time that young, scared woman, if she comes in there and she has that sonogram, this is why Sisolak, when he debated Lombardo, he wanted to know, are you going to pay for the sonograms? You're going to pay for the sonograms. They don't want women to have the sonogram because when they have the sonogram, suddenly it's real that they have life inside them, okay? Now, the other part of that equation is the Women's Resource Center that says, you don't have to be scared. We're going to help you.
And they should know. We have
the resources that we will provide you prenatal care. We will pay for the delivery. We'll even help you. We'll help the father. They do counseling with the father. They do parental counseling. They provide the resources from the time the girl finds out she's pregnant till that baby's 5 years old. Now, suddenly this girl who feels like I have nobody and I'm scared and I don't know what I'm going to do and how do I handle this financially? That's a true worry. Finances are a true worry. And suddenly they find that it's going to be okay. They've got a pathway to keep the baby. We do need to do more of that. That's why your Elizabeth Warrens want to shut that down. They want to fund Planned Parenthood, but they want to shut down alternative resources, and that's wrong.
That is wrong.
Yes.
Do you think that there is a Me Too movement out there? Let me give you an example. Okay. And we're very in depth when it comes to the court system.
Yeah.
Okay. Which I think the Republican Party should pay more attention to who we putting on the bench. By the way, for example, there are 58 judicial district court seats. 42 of them is housed by women. There are 7 Supreme Court seats. 5 of them are housed by women. There are I believe 23 state Senate seats. 13 of them are housed by women. These are seats that were once occupied by male counterparts. Now they're occupied by women.
Right.
Do you think that a Republican male could beat an incumbent female Democrat in the general election?
For a judicial seat?
For
or just for
Senate seat.
For a Senate.
And the reason why I say that is because I've been doing this a long time. I don't look that way, right? Is it gray? No?
I'm kidding.
Okay. I've been doing this a long time, and I've seen the movement. And the difference between me and a regular Republican is that I'm involved in different political parties. I'm not just involved in one.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm hearing it from 4 different sides. And when I say 4 different sides, Democrats, Republicans, IAPs, and libs, and in the middle be the independent. Okay. And women are taking over these political seats. And I've seen it, especially smart, intelligent women, they're taking over and they're leaving those male counterparts behind. Why would a Republican Party push a white male? Why would a Republican Party push a white male to go against a white Democrat incumbent woman for the U.S. Senate seat? It is absolutely asinine, beyond me. You guys never learned your lesson. And I think that people are being bought off to the primary. And you know what? And speaking of that, I also think that there's an establishment party out there that both Republicans and Democrats, higher ups, get along, get together and say, okay, we're going to put this Republican in that race because we're going to push that Republican through the primary because we know that Republican is not going to win the general election against this person. And the next election, you get that seat. I think there's some type of deal going on because you guys can't be that stupid. You gotta be getting paid.
Tell me how you really feel.
You gotta be getting paid. You can't be that stupid. It's beyond me.
You know, it's tough to be a woman and then there's all this like Me Too movement because, look, I was a woman.
You're still a woman.
I am.
Before you finish, Jill, let me just say something. Let me just say something before you finish it because I lose my, I got short-timers memory problems.
Okay.
But women have struggled for their right to vote.
That's right.
Their right for equal pay.
That's right.
Their right to be not stereotyped. If I go to a restaurant with a woman, I don't want the waiter to come out and automatically hand me the bill. No, just give it to her. So I have heard this on many, many election cycles. It doesn't matter if you're a Republican woman and there is a Republican male going for the seat, and there's a Democrat woman. A lot of women that I have seen, that I have been encountered with, not saying what you have done or you have heard, what I have heard, cross-party votes and vote for that woman just because that person is a woman. They don't care if it's a Republican or a Democrat, because that person is a woman, I'm going to vote for her. And I've heard it every single time. So could a Republican male beat a Democrat woman? Especially an incumbent Democrat woman, one that's already have that seat.
Yes, they could.
What's the chances of that?
No.
Because they can't relate to them. They can't relate to the menopause. They can't relate to the 9 months of pregnancy. Yeah. They can't relate to women issues. They can't relate to women's struggles. And what's going on in this landscape today are those particular issues. If you cannot speak on it by experience, you're not going to win.
Look,
you'll get out of a primary. Hooray! But you're not going to get that general election seat.
Steve, shouldn't it be the best candidate regardless of your race?
It should be the best candidate.
It should be the
best
candidate. By experience.
That's what I was going to say is, in all things, I think that we need to evaluate candidates. What's their background? What are they running on? What do they bring to the table? We should be seeking the best person for the position, regardless of male or female.
Somebody without baggage too helps.
But I think that, gosh, and again, what I was going to say, as a corporate executive, I was the first female to become an agency vice president in the company's 95-year history. Now, I am sure that there were qualified women before me, but they probably got overlooked because guys have always had the ability to hang out with one another, bond with one another. They're playing softball together. They're golfing together. They get to know each other better in a way that it's very hard for females to interact like that. Mm-hmm. And so I can tell you that I always felt like I would work twice as hard. And I always wanted to be, I would tell anyone, I would put my results of what I had done in my career up against any guy. I would hate to ever think that I was promoted because I was a woman. I want the resume that goes with it, and I had the resume that went with it. But you don't always get the same level of respect.
That's like affirmative action.
Yeah.
Didn't they just have a Supreme Court hearing about the
right.
college admissions, right?
You shouldn't get into college based upon your race.
Yeah. No.
You shouldn't necessarily be elected to office because you're a female. But, we have to get people focused on, again, who is the best candidate. That's why in this race, I've got 4 guys trying to take me on, I've got the best message. There is only one path to victory. And if people really, truly want the Clark County Party to come together, and if they really, truly want us to elect Republicans, then the choice is clear. There's only one choice. It is me. I have the background. I have the experience. I will get the job done. And I am not bought and paid for by anybody. I'm not beholden to anybody. I don't want anybody's money. I will bring this party together. We will and get us on the right track. We will build back those funds. We will win some elections. I will target certain races. I will put the resources in place, and we will get the job done. My entire background is nothing but finding a way to get the job done, and I will do that.
Are you going to recognize all candidates that are Republicans for any race? I mean, are you going to help them all out, or how you plan on doing that? Because right now, I think they're picking and choosing who they want to help out.
Again, it kind of goes back to resources, number one. And number two, it's very difficult in the primary to really earmark, especially if you have multiple candidates in the primary, So I can tell you what you do have to do is say, all right, we've got to get Assembly 37 back. We lost Assembly 37. Why did we win Assembly 37? There was no support for Jacob DeVille, and we needed to hold on to 37. That is a winnable Assembly district. It was Andy Matthews' district. Andy Matthews had the most votes of any Republican on the ticket. So why didn't we retain Assembly 37?
Look at the public administrator's seat. And I know that's low on the totem pole, but the party don't pay attention to these low seats. And these people wins these low seats run for higher seats.
Yes. And those are critical elections. Exactly. And those do rest with the Clark County chair. And we've ignored all of those little lower races.
Exactly.
And we do need to pay attention to them.
But do we have for the presidential race, you have a caucus, right? You have a gathering of the party, and they say, well, this would be the best candidate. And then they put them on the list. This is who everybody should vote for. Yeah. They vet that person. They say, hey, you should probably not run. This is the best qualified candidate to run for that position that is viable and that will win. And we don't have that at all in any of our
because if the Republican Party, the county party, was behind Patsy Brown, who was the Republican challenger for the public administrator's race, we would have had a Republican in the public administrator today.
And we wouldn't have.
But they didn't help him out. They didn't help her out.
We wouldn't have had somebody get murdered either.
Well, and listen, you could say that, we needed to win Justin Jones' county commission seat. Now I'm really wondering, how vested was the county party in making sure that we won that seat? With the knowledge I have now that I didn't know then, I'm really questioning, where was the loyalty to the Republican candidate?
So let me ask you something, Miss Douglas. Are you, because in order for me to do what I do, I had to get some type of pension or something had to come my way for me to do what I do. Yeah. And usually you can't be focused on being the leadership in a county or a state or even what I do if you have to concentrate on how you're going to feed your family.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work because it's family first and then party second, right? But if you don't have a money issue, if you don't have to go somewhere 9 to 5 and you have money coming in based on pension or you got a golden spoon or some inheritance or whatever the case might be, you could focus more on what you're elected to do.
Right. And that's a good question, because that's why people struggle with, what does Jesse do? He's got 3 children to support. What does he do? Why would you even want a volunteer position where you're working 14, 15-hour days? I am passionate about the Republican Party. I want us to win.
I live this.
Yes.
Here I am on a Saturday.
I have an office set up in my house, and I pretty much work round the clock for the party, for my club, right? And for the other clubs and for the state federation. And I'm constantly doing and working, whatever. So that's the struggle, which is, why do you even want this, Jesse? Why do you want a volunteer position that takes 14 or 15 hours a day? How can you do that?
You have. I always believe in put your money where your mouth is, right? You have to be vested. Like this building. Me and Jim Jonas, who's my original co-host, we own this building.
Yeah.
And we bought this building. For multiple purpose, but the major purpose was to do our studio, because we got tired of paying for airtime, and we're vested in this, and that's why I'm so passionate about what I do and how I do it. And when I question candidates, sometimes some candidates might think that I'm being adversarial. I'm not. All I'm trying to do is to get the truth out, because I know there are people out there that wants to know the same thing that I want to know.
Yeah.
It's not an isolated question. It's not, because some people think it but don't know how to say it. Right? They don't know how to address it because they don't want to offend. And me, I don't really care about offending. All I want to know is the truth of my questions. That's all I want to know. And at that point, I'll take that truth and I'll do whatever I want to do with it, whether I want to embrace it or whether I want to push it away. And that's just how I operate. So when I ask these questions, it's not anything personal against you. I'm not trying to get you, Jill Douglas. I'm just trying to find out things that other people have asked me to find out.
The thing is, the party is at a crossroads. And again, I would say to anyone, is the party better off today than it was 2 years ago? And the answer is no, it's not. It's even worse off.
Based on
the fact that we did not win any elections. We have less Republican representation
today
than we did. We won the governor's seat because of the campaign the governor ran, not because of anything the party did for the governor. Okay? So making that clear.
Okay.
And the fact that, we don't have the funds that we need to do the business of the party. That rests with the current chair. He needs to take ownership of it. He needs to stop using this excuse that, I was in litigation and I couldn't do anything. Grow up, Jesse Law. The litigation, I've got the article, it ended in December of 2021. You can't say that you couldn't accomplish anything for 2 years because of that. He owned 2022 and he did nothing. It was a failure. We can't allow failure, because look, I'm passionate about this simply because I love America. And I'm again, military daughter, wife, mother. Okay.
You're a brat.
Yeah. But I also have grandchildren. I am worried about the future for my sons, my 4 grown sons. I am worried about the future for my grandchildren. America is being taken away. What our country was founded on is being taken away. Children are not being taught academics. Children are not being taught to love our country. They're not being taught civics. What they're being taught is you're not a boy. If you're a boy, you're a girl. And if you're a girl, you're actually a boy. And there's no such thing as genders. And you should have surgery to amputate your body parts. And the grading scale has been gutted. And we pass people with no proficiency in simple reading, writing, and math. We've got to get schools back to teaching academics. We've got to get our Americans to love our country. If you don't stand for that flag,
you fall for everything.
Then you need to leave,
True.
And so I worry about the America that we are leaving people, because socialism is a scary thing. If you talk to individuals from socialist countries who have seen people in a lot of the socialist countries, you have an oligarch. You have really wealthy individuals. You have no middle class, and you have poverty. And the wealthier get wealthy because of the needs of those they keep in poverty. And that's what they want to do to our country. They don't want you to own a home. They don't want you to own a car. They want to have everybody like live in a little block apartment, have a bicycle, and give everything that you've worked so hard for to those that don't want to work. Like socialism is a scary thing. People will tell you, yeah, I've seen people go from, they've seen their country being a great country to people eating out of garbage cans. We can't let that happen, So we've got to elect conservatives who love America into office, and America can't be great without Nevada being great. And Nevada can't be great without Clark County being great. And so, yeah, I am the woman who individuals reached out to me. This wasn't on my horizon to do. Look, I got a lot of better things to do with my time. All right. I don't need this. All right.
My grandbabies moved here.
My son's coming back from overseas with my 3 granddaughters, and I'm going to be there, because the first 2 years I couldn't even see him. I've seen him one time in 3 years because
he's in the military.
He's in the military.
What
yes.
branch?
Air Force.
Oh, sorry. No, Air Force, you're right. Aim high.
Yeah. Aim high, Air Force. Yeah. So, it's that important to me. People ask me to run. They said, look, Jesse's a nice guy. His talents aren't conducive for what we need in Clark County. We need someone who will get the job done. We know how hard you work. We've seen what you've done. We know that your entire background is one of success and stability. You've got to do this for us. And I was like, I don't think so. And then a lot of individuals, they reached out to me. They kept talking to me that, I've got the support of the leaders of all of the Republican and the conservative clubs who want change. So I said, okay, well, I guess if it's meant to be, it's up to me. I'm going to step in and do this. It hasn't been easy. It hasn't been pleasant. People who don't even know you that will go on Facebook and call you a liar. And you're like, what? What have I lied about? You tell me one thing I've lied about. I haven't lied about anything. People are calling me a rhino. Really? I'm the one who registered as a Republican when I was 18 years old. Jesse Law is a libertarian. And he tells people he's a libertarian. Do not call me a rhino. That is the last thing I am.
Do you believe in what Johnny Bruce said when he came out saying he's running for chair? Do you believe he says you're taking half and Jesse's going to take the other half?
Johnny. So it's interesting because I don't really know Johnny Brew that well. And we've had several conversations on the phone, and we actually talked about the elections. And one of the things Johnny and I, because he's asked me, so what 3 people do you think really should have won that didn't win? And like we've talked about these. I like Johnny. Yeah. And he found out. He actually found out because he said, Joe, I don't have anything against you. And I'm like, Johnny, I don't have anything against you. And we actually kind of we can like each other. We can get along. And I told him, I said, Johnny, if you want to run, you got to do what you think is the right thing for you to do. I honestly think he could do a good school board member. I honestly think there's several things he could do. The notion that he's trying to push that if Jesse wins, half the people are going to leave, or if I win, half the people are going to leave. That's false. I've been here supporting the party. I will support the party. I can't speak for Jesse, but I don't think that that's, I think that the party's been through enough that if you're going to leave because there's a different chair, because we had a fair election and the members elected either the existing chair or the new chair, if you're going to leave because we had a fair election and you didn't like the outcome, what were you really here for to begin with? The party needs all of us, even if we don't always agree on everything. And so John, the election is between Jesse and I, plain and simple. That's it. It's between the two of us. If you vote for anyone else, you have wasted your vote. It'll probably take it to a second vote. But the notion that because there's multiple people running, Jesse's automatically going to win, that is not a true statement at all. Actually, I think some of these individuals that are running, they're not going to take votes away from my supporters. My supporters are solid. They want change, and they know that I have the background to do the job effectively, and to deliver on the things that this party needs. They're not going anywhere. These other guys, they're not taking any of those individuals.
Are you willing to work with different organizations that has nothing to do with the Republican Party, like Veterans in Politics?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
I think we need, we're talking to a military girl, you know.
Because I was asked years ago, and to head up a veteran coalition to change veterans in politics and make it the Republican Veterans in Politics. I thought that was so asinine, and I turned down that idea because I didn't want to make I didn't want veterans in politics to be solely on one party, because it's not.
It's not.
You know, it had to be inclusive with everybody, right? But we look for the best candidate for the job, regardless of your political affiliation or your gender, right, or anything like that. But we also try to build a better America as far as dealing with Nevada and the political landscape here. And I just, when I made that statement, if you're willing to work with different political parties that don't have like Battleborn Republican Women or Anthem Republican
Right.
Women or ARW or any of those Boulder City Republican Women, if you're willing to go outside of the Republican Women or whatever says Republican on it, if you're willing to go outside to different organizations. And you mentioned the Asian Chamber of Commerce and the Latin Chamber of Commerce. There's also an Urban Chamber of Commerce and stuff like that, if you're willing to go outside that.
I don't understand, again, why haven't we already had a presence? Like all these years, we haven't had a presence in these communities. I don't understand that.
Because I go to some of those chambers, and I don't think I see a recognizable everyday Republican Central Committee meet in person at any of these chamber events.
It's like I said in the beginning, connecting requires energy, but if we fail to connect to people within our community, then we'll fail to be able to elect Republicans. And we've got to put in the effort and the energy to make those connections.
Because the landscape is constantly changing.
Yeah.
Mike, you have anything else for Miss Douglas? We had her on for 2 hours.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Wow.
Thank you for coming on the show and for letting our viewers know that what you stand for and what changes you would make. And we just really appreciate you conveying all those to us and know what direction, what vision you have for the Republican Party. As we all know, that changes are needed, much needed. So thank you.
Is there anything that you want to say that we haven't covered?
I think you've covered a lot of ground. I think it goes back to looking at the individuals that are running and determining who can get the job done. And I am the only one who can get the job done. Like, Jesse has the record. I mean, he's been in the position. He's failed in that role. Why would you vote for failure again? So vote for change. And I will add this. I've talked to people who have chaired other county parties in other places. And a lot of the bylaws for county parties are written where the chair serves one term. I support that. This is a volunteer position. You're going to work really, really hard.
You think 2 years is enough time? Because it's every 2 years.
Yeah,
right?
because you know what? You come in, you're willing to roll up your sleeves, jump in, put in the sweat equity to, go through an election cycle, working to make something better than you found it. So it's constant improvement, right? And grooming people to take your place, building succession planning. When you allow people on a county level, it's the same way in our federal government. They get in there and then they start getting payoffs and paybacks, and they start making these deals, and they forget why they're there in the first place. So if you knew, hey, this is a get in for 2 years, work really hard, make the party better, and groom future leadership, now those other people that are working as volunteers know that, hey, maybe one of them want to be the vice. Hey, maybe one of them want to be the chair, right? and they know that there's opportunity, because I'm not seeking to be here for more than 2 years. I can tell you that right now. I have a life, and I have a lot of things that I'm involved in. I am willing to help the party. I'm willing to use my skill sets, my successful background, the things I know about setting goals and developing action plans and fundraising to help the party get better. My intentions are honorable. I'm willing to serve. If people don't want to vote for me to serve, and they want to continue to vote for the failed leadership that we have now, they will get the same result that we have right now. So they do have a choice, and I think it's going to be close. I mean, look, Jesse's counting votes. Jesse controls the communication. I can't even get a contact list.
You should be able to get the contact list.
So while he's not only got the contact list, he's been able to give the contact list to multiple people who are calling people all day long. Even my supporters, they're like, oh my God, I just got a call from this person. I just got a call from that person. Now I got a text from this person. I can't even get the contact list, So for a party who preaches fair elections, it's interesting to me that apparently he is so threatened by me that he doesn't even want me to be able to communicate to the membership who have a right. You're right. They have a right to get to know me. Mm-hmm. They have a right to ask me questions. Mm-hmm. They have a right to know about my background. Mm-hmm. And how am I able to get in front of them? And so they said to me, well, we'd have to have their permission to give you their contact info. Well, how do I get their permission if I don't know how to contact them? See, they've written the bylaws in a way that they're interpreting the bylaws, which is not how the majority people would interpret them. But they interpret them in a way that benefits them. And I have a problem with that, because they're like, what do you not understand, Jill? I'm like, I understand you are interpreting a membership list to only be names. I don't believe that most people would tell you that's what a membership list is. I think a membership list is names with contact info. So, we've been working very, very hard trying to identify the people we know, communicate with those people. We've been, for the last 5 weeks, every Wednesday and Saturday, we've been doing meet and greets. So it's interesting. Jesse this week decided, well, he should do some meet and greets. And so he elected to have them on Wednesdays and Saturdays, the same times that I'm doing meet and greets, which is fine. But, they can, look, throughout my life, whatever hurdle you've thrown at me, I have found a way, like I said, to get over it, under it, or around it. So whatever hurdles these guys want to throw at me, because I'm a strong female, and goodness gracious, I am telling them that I can do a better job. They don't like to hear that. And they want to make it as hard on me as possible. All right, bring it on.
I got several rules, but one of my top rules is, if you become chair, don't ever lie to me.
I would never lie.
Don't ever lie to me.
I don't lie.
Okay. All right. Well, I'd like to thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you.
Mike, thank you.
Thank you, Jill. Thank you.
Yeah.
I really like how you said that you're going to help to mentor and bring the next person that you would identify to be in that position as well. There should be some that's heavily lacking. So thank you so much for being on the show.
And let me just say, lying to me also means that you say you're going to do something, but you don't fucking do it. That's lying to me as well. So I just want to put that out there. Mark is going to zoom.
Remember what I said? Republican integrity.
Mark is going to zoom in on you, and you have the final words, either to bring supporters your way, or whoever's on the fence, or whatever you want to say, and your point of contact.
Look, there's only one path to victory, and there's only one path to improving the results of the Clark County Party, and that path is to vote for me. Republican integrity is critical if we're going to win elections. And that summarizes me, Republican integrity, doing what's right for the party, giving everyone a fair shot. I'm a uniter of people. I support the Republican Party. I've got the ideas that will be implemented. I will bring people together. I will create a Republican Party that operates as a command center. that works with all of the other Republican organizations. All of these organizations are individuals who know me and support me and who seek change because they know that the current chair has failed in their role. And I hope that people will vote for me so that I will have an opportunity to do the things that need to be done. And if you want to contact me, then I would say reach out it's Jill4ClarkCounty@gmail.com. Jill4ClarkCounty@gmail.com.
The number 4 or FOR?
Huh?
The number 4 or FOR?
The number 4.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Ms. Douglas,
All
for
right, thank
coming
you.
on. Thank you, Mike.
you.
Folks, that was a very, very exciting interview. Went over 2 hours for everybody to get to know Jill Douglas because we believe that the county chair position is a very important position to have, and we want to make sure that everybody out there that's informed, whether you're on the fence with Jill or on the fence with somebody else, I hope this helped you, push you one way or push you the other way. And I hope it was informative. Jill Douglas is also president of the Battleborn Republican Women. It's a great club. I had the pleasure of going several times. They got some good dinners out there. Have some T-bone steak bone-in instead of the chicken, and we'll do fine. But I just hope that you take this knowledge and you take it to the voting booth and you share this video with all your conservative friends and to get a better understanding of how important it is for this Clark County party chairmanship and what you got to do to get involved. And I hope everybody gets involved in some type of political party. It doesn't matter what your political platform is, but just get involved, and that will go a long way because, you know, this generation that's coming up, it really, really, really needs our help, and the generations to come up after that. So we really need to set a starting point and an ending point, exactly what we're going to do to move the political landscape along. And I'm a firm believer that strategy and you candidates out there that are listening, I'm a firm believer when you run for a race, be strategic in the way you do things. Sometimes if you're strategic, it doesn't matter how much money you have. You ask Jesse the Body Ventura, who beat out Republicans and Democrat as an independent to become governor of Minnesota, how he did it with a shoestring budget. So you don't have to have money. You just have to be smart about it. So be smart about it when you run for elected position. This is Steve Sampson, Michael McDonald, Veterans of Politics. Until next time.